Welcome to Intuitive Art Sales. This is the show where I, Jessica Craddock, am going to teach you how to source your art marketing from within. You're going to practice claiming that authentic art business that you want and leading into the most natural way for you to get there. You're going to learn to get connected to your intuition, your confidence, and your community so that you can sell your art consistently while holding strong boundaries on your work-life balance. I am here with my new friend, Megan Martin. She does some really whimsical drawings for the young at heart that are generally used as a pattern at this point. That's kind of her business model is like this POD, wallpaper kind of deal. She has a very developed artistic practice. She's been working on this for about 20 years and she's had some great luck with marketing, but she feels like she needs more stability and prowess was the word she used. Just not a great word. So, hi, Megan. Welcome. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm very good. Thank you so much for having me, Jessica. I'm excited to talk to you. As I had mentioned in my letter, that I've been reading your emails for a couple of years and just kind of waiting for my moment to feel
Mhm.
like I am ready to take off. So I'm excited for this
Yeah,
conversation.
awesome. And she also said that you have two children at home. Is
I do. I have two children at
that right?
home. One's in school. Well, one's in school, young in school, and then the other one will start school next year.
Great. So she had also mentioned that she wants to make moves right now, but she's kind of waiting toward the fall when they go back to school. And so we're going to try to come up with some moves for her today that she can do now or she can do later. And as always, I still don't know this where this conversation is going to go. We talked a little bit earlier about kind of her problems and vision for the future. So, Megan, I'm going to put you on the spot and ask you to kind of describe what we talked about the listeners, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah. So, like, handful of years ago, I started putting my artwork out digitally, which beforehand I was doing paintings, oil paintings, some printmaking, mostly keeping it to myself and just really loving the process. And then I had children and I moved to digital work, which was kind of difficult, but also I found easier to put out into the world. So I've been putting my artwork out mostly on print on demand site. And over the years, I've found that people want to buy my artwork. So things have been growing and I make a good part time income from it. And I also have a licensing deal with Hawthorne Supply Company where I do fabric and I sell on Etsy. So I'm really excited about the opportunities. And at the same time, while I feel comfortable putting my artwork out for people to see it on these sites, I am at somewhat of a loss of how would I say that? Let people know it's available for sale or that they could purchase a product or to get on the radar of new people who haven't found me. And when I first started, I was active on Instagram and really enjoying it when I was just an artist hanging out with other artists. Instagram was so much fun. I've met so many wonderful people. And then about 2 years ago, I thought, well, I need to change my mindset. I have a business here, so I should market. Well, it didn't go that simply. I started creating Instagram posts with the intention of bringing attention to product and what products I have and what they could be used for and who might want them and all these questions you might ask yourself when you're making a post for marketing instead of hanging out with your artist friends. And I just burned out on it. And then I stopped posting at all. And then I tried a couple things and then stopped posting again and tried a couple things and stopped posting again. And now I think that maybe social media is not going to work for me. I want to go back to hanging out with my artist friends on it. and that there is value in that, but that's what I want to focus on there.
Sorry, I just want to summarize what I
Yeah.
know and what I think I'm hearing is that the print on demand sites have worked well for you.
Mhm.
And you also feel a little bit, I won't say worried exactly, but kind of, that might be the word, about what if something happens to them and I have no other recourse because I have no control over it.
Yes, yes. So I feel like I have all my eggs in a basket that I have no control over who's carrying the basket, or I wanna carry the basket. That does that make sense? And
Yes.
and right now, another company is carrying the basket, which is so wonderful and is really giving me a start, and it's time for me to start carrying the basket so they don't drop it. Because, I mean, they're a business and I'm just one of thousands on there, and they don't whether or not I make a monthly income is of not much interest to them. So I want to be in a place where I have control over and where I feel like if I have let's say a new painting I've done or a new line of patterns I've done, and I don't put it into someone else's hand, like, here's this, whether or not you advertise it, whether or not it shows up on your search engine is up to you. I want to be like, I have these resources. I put this out. People see it because I've shown it to them. And right now I don't have that.
Okay. So let's think about this for a second. Let's pretend we live in a world where print on demand and such does not exist. Where places that will help you get in front of their audience and all you have to do is hand it off, those don't exist anymore. Now you have nothing.
Yeah.
So, and I don't say that to be like doomsday. I say
No,
that
but
to
that's what
like,
I'm scared
let's
of.
let's see where we're going.
Yeah.
How, if any, ways would you want to market your art? Do you have any inklings of an idea?
Yeah. I feel like, well, I think 2 years ago when I was like, I'm going to start marketing, I did set up what do you call it, a little thing to grab people's email addresses. So I
Mhm.
have, I don't know, last time I looked like 50 people who
Great.
said, hey, here's my email address. And so I guess that would be where I would start because these are people probably I know or I've talked to before, or probably people on Instagram I'm friends with that I feel comfortable with and are interested in what I'm doing.
You ever sent an email to
I
those
have
people?
not, no. Now I feel
How's
like I
that
need to send an
feeling?
apology email before I send an initial one. Like,
No, please don't do that. Every time I
please.
get an apology email, I unsubscribe.
Yeah.
I'm like, just jump back in there and pretend nothing happened, and I won't even notice.
Yeah, no,
And
maybe
if
the
you get a,
fucking
I never
time.
send you anything, and now I promise I will. I'm like, yeah, I don't believe you. Click.
It's true, and if I said that, you probably at right in this moment, you probably shouldn't believe me.
Okay, so here's what I want you to think about. Inside my consistent income program, I teach this 4-month rotation. And the idea of it is to continue building on itself in ways that have worked or ways that I want to try in order to give us more, let's call them marketing assets.
Mhm,
So right now you have Spoon Flour is a marketing asset that's working really well. And you've already got that set up and running. There's
mhm.
not a whole lot we have to do with that.
Yeah.
You've got Etsy, which is set up. It's not working so good. So it could be something that was improved on. We've got Hawthorne, which is doing something for you. Maybe that could be improved on. But is there, and also let me back up and say, no one can do everything.
Yeah.
So that's why I teach this 4-month rotation where we're going to focus on one thing for a period of time and build it and get it working and decide, do I want to keep building it and make it work more? Do I want to try something else? How can I kind of set this to keep working for me? And so, with that in mind, if we're thinking about what's the next marketing asset we want to build, is it improving one of your existing assets or is it trying something new? Maybe something that you have felt inspired by? And you said newsletter, but right at this moment, you had mentioned, I have no way for people to find me, to know what I do. And so that's kind of step one.
Yeah.
Newsletter is nurturing those people. But
Yeah.
if we're thinking about just in terms of what I call visibility, how might you want to be found by more people? Taking spoonflower out of the equation.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, then what comes to my mind would be website should be the first goal. So if I have a
Website could be, but
yeah.
in order for a website to be something that's going to help more people find you, there has to be something to it that helps people
Mhm,
find you. So years and years and years ago, I had a website business,
mhm,
and I would build websites for more than just artists, but it tended to be mostly for artists.
mm,
And they would come back after it was built and say, "Yeah, but nobody's seen it yet." Like, well, yeah, it's just something that's floating out there. It's not going to just magically be found.
mhm,
So you have to either market it, you've got to maybe spend time on search engine optimizing it,
mhm,
which means you've got to have some sort of place to SEO, search engine optimize, for people to
mhm.
find. It's not one of those things that you just put out there and people find it. So that's an option. But you have to think,
Sure.
how are people going to find it?
Yeah.
Am I also going to do
Mm,
Pinterest where I drive traffic to my website? Keywords are really my favorite to get people to my website as a visibility
mhm,
activity. So that might be Pinterest or keyword search engine. There's other ways, but those are kind of two biggies that I like to think about with artists.
mhm.
So are either of those of interest to you, or is there
Um,
something else?
I actually love Pinterest. I go on Pinterest every day, so actually it might be like, would that be like a good first spot? I guess
Sure.
my thought with Pinterest is I thought I shouldn't do it yet because I don't have a website. And they keep saying, like, "Link your website to Pinterest." And I'm
Yeah, it
always
has to
like,
go
"I don't have."
somewhere.
Yeah, and that's maybe just down the road.
Do you have any sort of website presence at all, or you just don't have it where you want it to be?
I have a page that says "Coming soon," and it's a
Mhm.
drawing, so it is cute, but it says "Coming soon," and that's it. And I have been thinking about what do I want to do there, and that is kind of an organizational thing in my head is my ideas are always take too long. It's my idea is up here when probably all I need is right here, and I have
Right.
trouble wading through that. And so that's kind of a whole process in my head. I've thought about more recently hiring someone just to build like 5 basic pages, like super basic pages. My husband is a front end developer, and so that kind of is so he does like website stuff. So I get these crazy ideas and he's like, "Oh, that would be so cool. I can do that for you." And we have 2 kids, and he works full time, and he's a writer. So it's always like, I don't wanna take time away from his writing to be like, "Oh, build my website," or play with the kids.
Yeah.
So even though we dream up that stuff, I don't know that it's actually going to happen anytime soon, and I think I just need to come to terms with that.
I don't necessarily agree,
Yeah.
but I want to keep going, keep talking.
Okay.
So let's skip down the road a couple steps and say, if we did have a website, what would people buy? Would we have to then send them to
That's
PODs,
no.
Sunflower, Hawthorne, something, something?
See, in my mind, my website is a destination because I put fun, playful things on it that are fun to look around and interact with. So I guess like I want to approach it like a piece of artwork. I don't know if I want to put things for sale on it. I mean, I do, and I want to, but it seems too fussy right now. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I need to just get over that. Like print on demand right now because I know how to drop ship. Boy, so this is the thing I've thought in my head. I know how to drop ship. I could drop ship stuff from my website, right? I could even drop ship stuff from my Etsy store. And right now it feels like if I take that on, that I'm not taking something else on that maybe would move me further right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, hmm,
And then if I offered the products I offer on my Etsy store right now on my website, which I think I could, like, is that enough? So what I have on my Etsy shop is like 8 prints, I think, that I'll print in 2 different sizes from my home and I mail them. So I could move that to a website, but is that the next step for me?
it could be.
Yeah, because it would make more of
So,
like presence there, right?
so what I'm looking for really is, yes, we could go down and solve that problem. Like that's
Yeah.
the discussion we could have. But what I really want to solve is the first problem to solve is how do we
Mhm.
want people to find us?
Yeah.
If that is Pinterest and our website, then yes, that is the problem to solve. If it's I want
Mhm.
to partner with more fabric printing stores so I diversify in that way, then that's the first
Mhm.
problem to solve. When you don't filter it like that, then it
Mhm.
just turns into this huge overwhelming to-do list that you
Yeah.
can't possibly finish.
Yeah.
And so I really want to solve the first problem first.
No, and I think that that is what I need help with because my mind is like, "Possibility."
Bing, bing,
And
bing, 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 bing. Yeah,
but I need to yeah, I just need like, "Hey, this is the one thing." And then when I find an hour today, that's what I'm gonna work on. Is it
right.
from to a website? I think that might be it because I do know it's not diversifying print on demand. That already feels unstable to me. Like, I guess that is an option. Like, I could have like 5 different sites, so I'm not depending on one of the sites, right?
Right.
And that see, that is appealing because that's very passive incomey, and then I'm like, "Ooh, that's appealing." But
Sure.
I don't think and maybe someday I will, but I think right now I need to feel like this right here is mine. And then I can send you to these other places, but this right here is mine. I think that being a website.
That kind of sounds right to me. What I look for is not what I think I should do, even though that's what you're saying.
Mhm.
But your underlying desires are I want to have something that's mine. I want to feel ownership over it. I want to be able to have some control and be able to send people there, etc. So that feels like a good direction. So let's go back to that conversation and continue making
Okay.
solves down that pathway, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I teach my students this thing called momentum boosters. And essentially, the point of them is to help you get unstuck. One of those is called the easiest way or the simplest way to execute. And when we start with the simplest way to execute, we make progress and then we can
Mm,
continue making progress from that point. So if we're thinking about if we had a website, what would we sell? Probably the simplest way to execute to get started would be to pull, not even pull from Etsy, but take those same prints that you have
um,
available on Etsy and offer them on your web shop.
mhm. Yeah.
That's a starting place. That probably is not the ending place, but
Yeah.
that's where we can start.
Mhm.
The simplest way to execute the website is not to build a whole website,
Yeah.
but to build a landing page that has those available for sale. It has maybe a place to sign up for your email list. It has a little bit about you, and it's got a header about what your art is about. You can build on it from there. But what is the simplest way to execute is to build one page website with something you already have available for sale and know how to sell. From there, now we got to learn Pinterest. So that's a whole nother game, right? But you have a pretty good idea of how Pinterest works. My guess is because you spend a lot of time on there already.
Yeah. I pin a ton of stuff. I actually have dabbled in creating my own pins, but it's like really just like kind of playing and trying. To not much avail, but I haven't really, like, dug into a strategy there.
So if we're sticking with this same pathway that we are starting down to build one marketing asset, then we're going to create multiple versions of pins that lead back to buying that thing. So I'm going to make this up. I am looking at your Instagram. You've got on your first pin is a really cute owl slash hot air balloon in a night sky. So let's say one of your prints is that.
Mhm.
So we're going to do a pin of that hanging on the wall. We're going to do a pin of that maybe with your kids running around in front of the print. We're going to do a pin of that just as like a scan. We're going to do a pin of that in like as many different ways as you can think of.
Mhm.
We're going to repeat for each of the five that you have available, and we're going to pin that to a board.
Would you
Um,
make like a board for that? Like make a board and just be like prints or art prints or like title it like cute kids art prints and then just pin them all on the same board?
that's one option. But just like any search engine keyword type place, like Etsy is another one of those, you really want to think about what are people searching for. So I like to start with the broad like you keywords. So Megan Martin art, Megan Martin art, Megan Martin illustration, like all those
Okay.
kinds of keywords. And then I like to think about kind of like what you said, the more broad children's room art. I don't know. Let's go back to that specific example. Hot air balloon art, hot air balloon prints, night sky art, like just those bigger examples. Why might somebody want to buy those? You might want to hang it in a nursery art. You might want to have a children's art gift. Like, why might I be searching for that?
Mhm.
And then we also want to get really specific. Fox in hot air balloon.
Okay.
Like, that's so specific that not very many
Mhm.
people are gonna be searching for that, but if they are searching for that, guess who's
Mhm.
gonna pop up? So we're thinking about you keywords, we're thinking about more general, why would they want it keywords, and then we're thinking about really specific to that particular piece keywords. And you're
Okay.
gonna pick a mix and match of the above, and you're gonna write it as a paragraph.
Right, as a paragraph. Okay.
In broader terms, on Pinterest, think about boards. Boards as a more general things they might be searching for. So, like your first board might be Megan Martin art portfolio, Megan
Mhm.
Martin art something.
Okay.
And then we might have a board of nighttime hot air balloons. And then we might have a board of what else do we have on this page of yours? Florals, we might have evergreen trees, we might have ocean. So kind of look at your art in terms of themes and you can create boards for the different themes. You can also not in your Megan Martin art portfolio board, but some of the other boards, if you find other relevant things such
Mhm.
as you find another artist who does hot air balloons floating around in the nighttime, you can add them to their board because
Mhm.
then that will help with your exposure. So Pinterest is kind of a wormhole of how to make it work the best. But the thing that you need to know for sure are keywords. Otherwise, could be useless.
Yeah.
You have a lot of great images already on your Instagram that you can use.
Just used for Pinterest. Would you pin them straight from Instagram or would you create
No,
an
because then it'll link it back to Instagram and you won't
Oh,
always
yeah,
use
I wanna link it
Instagram.
back to my page.
So the other part of me that's going wishy-washy on you is your main source of income is these fabrics and wallpapers currently.
Mhm.
So I feel like there should be pins for those. But
Yeah.
if we do that, we are doing it to your print on demand sites, which I don't love because if we're going to spend time generating traffic, I want it to come back to ours. But
Mhm.
we don't
Yeah.
have that yet. That's still a problem to solve. It's just not the first problem to solve. So let's just leave that on the back burner for a minute
Mm.
because you have enough to work on.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might also look into shameless plug for this company I like called Tailwind. Do you know Tailwind?
Yeah, I think I tried something at one point. It may have been later. I don't remember which, but I'm familiar with Tailwind. I know about
So
it.
the thing that I like about it is that you can schedule out pins. but not even just schedule them out one time. You can schedule them to go out again and again, which if you're going to take the time to do it, why
Mhm.
not make it work harder for you?
Yeah.
But that's like a couple steps down the road. So let's recap real quick.
Okay.
The first thing that the problem that you came to me with was I need more stability and prowess in my marketing. So I'm not relying just on these other places to keep promoting me because things happen.
Yeah.
So then we looked at, okay, what is the way that feels the most right? I'm going to call it in your soul,
Mhm.
like based on the things that really motivate you that you want. And that was to have a place of your own. So we said, okay, what are the easiest steps that we can take, the simplest ways to execute to make this happen? Knowing it's not the end all be all of what it's going to be eventually, but just to get going. And that was to create a landing page, to add the things that we already have for sale on it, and then to create pins around those things that we already have for sale.
Mhm.
That's a pretty good project right there. That could take you a month or 2
Yeah.
if you've got an hour here and an hour. And I want to preface all of this and say this isn't necessarily going to lead to sales. Right now, the only problem we're solving is how do we get more people to see us? And it may lead to more sales, but there's a good chance it's not going to lead to like a steep increase because we don't
Mhm.
know these people. We don't have a really good way to grab these people and then to nurture them and then to sell to them, which is why I mentioned that little email bar. That's kind of like
Mhm.
our lead in for our next thing. But we are solving this first problem first.
Yeah, and I think that's partially, like, before what I had a hard time wrapping my head around because I can think of all these ideas of, like, "Would this be a fun thing to say or do?" But, like, where do I say or do it from? Because I think I do need to build, like, like, foundation, I guess, for lack of another word. I need a foundation to build on before I build anything. And part of me who wants to do the exciting ideas all the time is a little resistant to that. And, like, I think that is what I need to do. Like, I need to spend some time doing that.
I've heard you a couple of times say something along the lines of, well, I want this thing, but I'm really resisting it because X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to do this other thing instead. And the reason I recognize that pattern is because I have very much had that pattern. I actually was thinking about it yesterday. Let me give you an example. So, one of the things that I value the most in my business and in my life is spaciousness. Like, it's one of my core, gotta have it. And for a long time, I thought I can't build a successful business unless I'm working 24/7. And so while I still really wanted that successful business, I kind of self sabotaged a lot along the way because I thought by getting what I wanted, that successful business, I would lose the spaciousness and I would lose being able to have life balance and taking time off and doing what I wanted to do in the mornings, having my thinking time and my creative time and my whatever, whatever. And so I wouldn't do the things that I did this also consciously, of
Mhm.
course, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't do all the things that I knew I needed to do because I thought it would take away from my most important motivators, one of
Mhm.
which being that spaciousness. So you just said something along the lines of, I know I need to do foundation work, but I think it's going to take away from my creative inspiration, my creative sparks. And so part of reconciling that is figuring out how can I take my creative sparks and plug them into building my foundation.
Yeah.
And I think, I might be wrong, but I think what we just came up with as a action for starting to become more visible in a way that is based on our work is you said, I love Pinterest and I want this website. I just don't know how, like those creative sparks can be focused in on building that foundation.
Yeah, like, be more playful with it. Because right now when I look
Yeah.
at it, I'm like, I'm gonna have to figure out
Eh.
how to lay out my images on the page, but really, maybe I should be thinking about I get to draw a picture that is gonna go on the header and then play
Yeah.
with drawing the picture. Yeah. Yeah.
Have your husband help you with what's the fastest way to get this up? And
Yeah.
then how do I want to make it mine? How do I want to
Yeah.
draw a picture on the header? And how do I want to make it more like a interactive art exhibit? And how can I
Mhm.
make it all of these fun ideas that I have, but without letting the fun ideas keep us from actually getting it executed?
Yeah. I do, because I feel like I'm gonna finish these 5 ideas so they can go on the page in a way I don't know how yet, and then it will be good to go, but yeah, I need to make something boring to start. Is that what you're saying? Like, just
Not
like something boring.
boring.
Okay.
Just keep asking yourself, what is the simplest way to execute
Like,
this?
is this necessary right now?
That's how you want to say it. Yeah.
Okay, is that what's the simplest way? This
'Cause
is a
that's
more
really,
positive way to say it, yeah.
yeah, it's the same idea,
Yeah.
but I agree.
And I'm actually thinking now, I think I maybe do need to put some wallpaper on that page. Do
And
you think
maybe
I
it's wallpaper, like, as some of your image backgrounds for now.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then you can say, maybe at the bottom, I also have wallpaper for sale. Click here to email me if you're interested. And then you're not necessarily sending them all these other places, but they can talk to you. You can have a conversation about what do you want? Let me help you figure it out. I don't know how that all really
sure.
works
Yeah,
in the back end that you would be able to order wallpaper for
yeah,
them.
yeah, I do know how to do that. I just have been not wanting to take it on because if I turn into a person who's putting through wallpaper orders, that's not what I picture myself doing. So I don't know. But I mean, I think also there's transitions that need to happen and maybe the
Right.
transition can look one way and then I can plan it long term to be something else.
So one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is, well, I don't want to be an order taker. So
Mhm.
I need to plan it out so that if we were 20 years in the future, it's looking like what it would look like then.
Mhm.
But then you skip all of the in between learning opportunities and steps to actually get you to the 20-year in advance. And you
Yeah.
get stuck because you don't know all the in betweens. And you have some information already because you know what's selling. That's good
Mhm.
information,
Yeah. Yeah.
but maybe you don't quite know what's the way to make the biggest profit margin from this. So I'm going to give you a homework assignment on top of all of the actual action steps. And I want you to list maybe the top 3 filters for decision making for you.
Okay.
So you had mentioned, I want to have creative sparks. You mentioned, and these may or may not be it.
Yeah.
I wanna double my income so my husband can go part-time, and there was something else. But when you can look at my filter of, well, is it worth this transition period where I'm taking orders for a little bit until I figure out the best way to do this or a better next way to do this? Is it worth it? And I'm
Yeah.
gonna look at my decision tools and say,
Mhm.
well, it would help me get my husband part-time faster, so that feels worth it to.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna go, "No, I don't wanna do that. I'm just gonna send them to my print on demand site." Oh, maybe the other one was I wanna build my own business, essentially,
Over. Yeah.
my own stability and my own prowess instead of just handing it off to someone.
Yeah, I think I resonate with needing filters, so I think that'll be a good thing to think about.
Yeah. And then when you said you have all these decisions coming at you and all these ideas, you can look at the filter and say, "Is this the right next move for me or
Mhm.
not?"
Yeah.
So after you build this, this is one more marketing asset to help people find your
Mhm.
art. Look at nurture. Next, look
Mhm.
at sales, and then come back and do visibility again so that you always have this constant building of assets, all the different marketing places that are going to get you that stability.
That's interesting to think about because people always say you diversify your income. That's interesting to me to think about the marketing touch points being where the diversity is to some extent, or
Mhm.
at least for
It's
right
the
now.
same and it's different. I think that advice is somewhat faulty because just building all of these different things without the whole process in mind doesn't necessarily work. A lot of times that turns into I have all these places that people are finding me, because that's generally the one that people go to, is that
Yeah.
visibility piece. I have all these places people can find me, but still nobody's buying anything. So yeah, I'm glad that you pointed that out. I really like that as well. So thanks for being savvy.
Well, I
See,
definitely
you've got more than you already know.
hope so. I just have to organize it in my head and do something about it.
Well, in the fall, you can come work with me and I'll organize it for you.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. I need someone that's just gonna be, "Okay, Megan, let's stop dreaming about new things and focus maybe on what we're working on right now." But
That's kind of my thing, is I love to organize people's brains.
yeah, that's good.
Cool. All right, Megan, thank you so much for being
Yes.
with us today. If people were to want to find you, where would they do that?
Well, I'd have to say Instagram at this point.
Wait, wait,
'Cause
wait, wait, wait. Why?
because
You
it's
said, I hate being on
because it's
Instagram. I don't want to
online.
do it. Do you think you could have a landing page created in the next month?
I think so.
Sure.
Can I get my Instagram and my
Yeah,
website?
you may.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, so I'll do it. Instagram.com/@_the_cottage_studio. Yes, there's an at that you have to write out. And then also, where it's because you're going to have your website up when this airs, where are they going to find you there?
well, I do have a URL and it is meganmartinstudio.com.
Can you spell that out?
Yep. MEGANMARTIN studio, STUDIO.com.
Perfect. Thank you for taking the time with me today. I super appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Megan. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't yet, be sure to hit subscribe so that you can get new episodes loaded straight onto your phone as soon as they're ready. And if you're one of those people who wants all the things, be sure that I get your email so that I can send you invitations to free classes, send advice your way, and share details about how you can go deeper with me. Just click on the show notes to sign up.